Water clocks. The flow of sand in an hourglass can be used to keep track of elapsed time. A water clock for gold beating gold leaf in Mandalay, Myanmar. Water clocks, along with the sundials, are possibly the oldest time-measuring instruments, with the only exceptions being the day-counting tally stick. Given their great antiquity, where and when they first existed is not known and is perhaps unknowable. The bowl-shaped outflow is the simplest form of a water clock and is known to have existed in Babylon and in Egypt around the 16th century BC. Other regions of the world, including India and China, also have early evidence of water clocks, but the earliest dates are less certain. Some authors, however, write about water clocks appearing as early as 4000 BC in these regions of the world. Greek astronomer Andronicus of Cyrus supervised the construction of the Tower of the Winds in Athens in the 1st century BC. The Greek and Roman civilizations advanced water clock design with improved accuracy. These advances were passed on through Byzantine and Islamic times, eventually making their way back to Europe. Independently, the Chinese developed their own advanced water clocks in 725 AD, passing their ideas on to Korea and Japan. Some water clock designs were developed independently and some knowledge was transferred through the spread of trade. Pre-modern societies do not have the same precise timekeeping requirements that exist in modern industrial societies, where every hour of work or rest is monitored, and work may start or finish at any time regardless of external conditions. Instead, water clocks in ancient societies were used mainly for astrological reasons. These early water clocks were calibrated with a sundial. While never reaching the level of accuracy of a modern timepiece, the water clock was the most accurate and commonly used timekeeping device for millennia, until it was replaced by the more accurate pendulum clock in 17th century Europe. Islamic civilization is credited with further advancing the accuracy of clocks with elaborate engineering. In 797, or possibly 801, the Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad, Harun al-Rashid, presented Charlemagne with an Asian elephant named Abul Abbas together with a particularly elaborate example of a water clock. Pope Sylvester II introduced clocks to northern and western Europe around 1000 AD. The first known geared clock was invented by the great mathematician, physicist, and engineer Archimedes during the 3rd century BC. Archimedes created his astronomical clock that was also a cuckoo clock with birds singing and moving every hour. It is the first carillon clock as it plays music and simultaneously with a person blinking his eyes surprised by the singing birds. Archimedes' clock works with a system of 4 weights, counterweights, and strings regulated by a system of floats in a water container with siphons that regulate the automatic continuation of the clock. The principles of this type of clocks are described by the mathematician and physicist Hero, who says that some of them work with a chain that turns a gear of the mechanism. Another Greek clock probably constructed at the time of Alexander was in Gaza, described by Procopius. The Gaza clock was probably a meteoroscopion, i.e. a building showing the celestial phenomena and the time. It had pointer. Mechanical water clocks. A scale model of Su Song's astronomical clock tower, built in 11th century Kaifeng, China. It was driven by a large water wheel, chain drive, and escapement mechanism. For the time and some automations similar to the Archimedes clock. There were 12 doors opening one every hour with Hercules performing his labors, the lion at 1 o'clock, etc., and at night a lamp becomes visible every hour, with 12 windows opening to show the time. A water-powered cogwheel clock was created in China by Yi Xing and Liang Lingzhen. This is not considered an escapement mechanism clock as it was unidirectional. The Song dynasty polymath and genius Su Song, 1020–1101, incorporated it into his monumental innovation of the astronomical clock tower of Kaifeng in 1088. His astronomical clock and rotating armillary sphere still relied on the use of either flowing water during the spring, summer, autumn seasons and liquid mercury during the freezing temperature of winter, i.e. hydraulics. In Su Song's water wheel linkwork device, the action of the escapement's arrest and release was achieved by gravity exerted periodically as the continuous flow of liquid-filled containers of a limited size. In a single line of evolution, Su Song's clock therefore united the concept of the clepsydra and the mechanical clock into one device run by mechanics and hydraulics. In his memorial, Su Song wrote about this concept. According to your servant's opinion, there have been many systems and designs for astronomical instruments during past dynasties, all differing from one another in minor respects. But the principle of the use of water power for the driving mechanism has always been the same. The heavens move without ceasing, but so also does water flow and fall. Thus, if the water is made to pour with perfect evenness, then the comparison of the rotary movements of the heavens and the machine will show no discrepancy or contradiction, for the unresting follows the unceasing. Song was also strongly influenced by the earlier armillary sphere created by Zhang Sixun, 976 AD, who also employed the escapement mechanism and used liquid mercury instead of water in the water wheel of his astronomical clock tower. The mechanical clockworks for Su Song's astronomical tower featured a great driving wheel that was 11 feet in diameter, carrying 36 scoops, into each of which water poured at a uniform rate from the constant level tank. The main driving shaft of iron, with its cylindrical necks supported on iron crescent-shaped bearings, ended in a pinion, which engaged a gear wheel at the lower end of the main vertical transmission shaft. This great astronomical hydromechanical clock tower was about 10 meters high, about 30 feet, and featured a clock escapement and was indirectly powered by a rotating wheel either with falling water and liquid mercury. A full-sized working replica of Su Song's clock exists in the Republic of China, Taiwan's National Museum of Natural Science, Taichung City. This full-scale, fully functional replica, approximately 12 meters, 39 feet, in height, was constructed from Su Song's original descriptions and mechanical drawings. An elephant clock in a manuscript by Al-Jazari, 1206 AD, from the Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. A 17th-century weight-driven clock in Laco Castle, Sweden. In the 12th century, Al-Jazari, an engineer from Mesopotamia, lived 1136 to 1206, who worked for Artukid king of Diyarbakir, Nasir al-Din, made numerous clocks of all shapes and sizes. The most reputed clocks included the elephant, scribe, and castle clocks, some of which have been successfully reconstructed. As well as telling the time, these grand clocks were symbols of status, grandeur and wealth of the Urtuk state.